information, call or WhatsApp Pastor John at 516-286-7079.
Turn your lights down low and listen to the Master's Radio.
Here's your opportunity to join Pastors Morris and Agnes Johnson of the Church of the Firstborn Assembly and guests as they lead in worship ministries of the Word and Prayer. That's every Sunday at 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. and every Wednesday from 9 p.m. to midnight on the street 919 FM, where we deal with today's issues from a biblical perspective. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell everyone. You'll be given the opportunity to call in and interact with us. Your life and family will never be the same. You are welcome to visit our website, www.churchofthefirstbornassembly.org. Like us on Facebook. Your financial support will be greatly appreciated. Church of the Firstborn Assembly, account number 795222 at the First Citizens Bank. You can contact us at 753-1113.
Levette HFP Spa introduces Levette Fit 360 Studio. We now offer static contraction training that studies show is twice as effective at increasing bone density than bone anabolic drugs. In less than 10 minutes, the 1-rep gym workout gets you 10% stronger each session, and you rest more the stronger you get. Eventually, you only work out once every 3 months and continue to see gains in strength and bone density. The future of fitness is here. Get fit, stay fit. Levette. Call now, 674-5015, and get your first workout free.
Come talk with us.
Real issues, hard talk.
Real talk on the street 919 FM.
Statistics. The majority of the Caribbean countries have lost more than 50% of the labor force in tertiary education and more than 30% in the secondary education, 9 to 12 years in school. What's left? I got some statistics today. You have to tell me if it's true. I'm going to ask you. The doctors in Trinidad and Tobago, I'm going to ask the politicians here, and you can tell me. Have you been to the hospital? How many black doctors are taking care of you? Listen to the people. I'm just asking questions. Listen, lawyers, 87% of the lawyers in Trinidad and Tobago are Indian. And if they don't like you too good, they ain't fighting for no justice for you. But wait, 65% of the judges are Indian. Lord have mercy. 98% of those in prison are African Trinidadians. 88% of those in the crazy house, black people. How many of you eat chicken? They tell me 100% of the chickens are produced by Indians. Now, I don't know. I just got these statistics today. So you have to correct this if it needs correcting. But listen, if it's 3/4 truth, that's bad, bad, bad. The first Indians came to Trinidad in what? 1845. How long had you been here before they come? Long time, eh? They didn't come in the holds of ships, robbed of their name, their language, their culture, their religion, their God, their history. They came with their culture intact, their name, their language, their religion, their God, and a history. Today, they can unite, pool their resources, and buy up the land. They tell me half of Trinidad is owned by a Syrian Jew. I don't know the truth. I just got here a few days ago. Did you know if all your learned ones leave, they're your doctors. They're gone to England and the United States. The lawyers that should be standing up for you, they're gone. England and the United States. Huh? You don't have judges, enough judges to listen to our cases and handle them with justice. Look at this. How much corruption has been in the black governments that have been ruling you for 57 years? I'm asking questions. I want answers. How in the hell can our people be in this condition if corruption was not the mainstay in black government? I ain't here to win no damn friends. If you're not a friend of the poor, I ain't no damn friend of yours. Some of you boast that you're Christians. I beg to differ with you. Jesus would disown this bunch of mess that's walking around doing all this evil in his holy and righteous name. I beg your pardon. Just because you got a cross hanging around your neck, that don't make you no Christian. And just because you can say Alhamdulillah, that don't make you no Muslim either. See, the houses of religion are filled with hypocrisy. And the governments, they all know how to come at you when they want your vote. They all know how to talk sweet to you to get your vote. But after they get in power, how many of you can visit their office and sit down and have a civil conversation with them? Why should we vote for a black man that's an Indian at heart? I'm raising questions now. And I want us to look in the mirror at ourselves. Indians don't apologize to you for being who and what they are. Why in the hell should you apologize for being a black man who are the original owners of Trinidad and Tobago? I'm just very passionate in my love of black people and the pain that I feel for black suffering. How did the Syrian Jew own half the country? I'm just raising a question. The deal was set. How you turn your back on land and let somebody buy it up? Did they threaten you? But they own the land. I saw a beautiful documentary yesterday morning on Barbados. Few white people owning huge tracts of land. What are they building? 3 golf courses, a polo ground, and big, beautiful mansion that none of us could live in, except maybe to wash the floor, change the beds, and act like the slave that our great-grandfather was. How do you think your ancestors are thinking with what they went through to give us what we got? And here in 2012, you're in worse condition than your great-grandfather was when he was a slave. How could they come to us and offer us money to sell out our people? Listen to me good. See, you can sit and throw a stone from where you are, but later we put you in the same position and see if you got the strength standing up that you got sitting down. So you don't know, listen to me good, you don't know what kind of man or woman you are until Satan brings you up and tries you. You want me to talk about the scripture to you now? You know how great Jesus is? Absolutely. But that didn't stop him from being tried. Didn't Satan take him up on the mountains? Come, Jesus, come. Let me show you something. That's what they do to our politicians. That's what they do when you look like you're headed somewhere. They call you, come, come, come. Jesus, your father promised you something, right? You say you're going to get a kingdom, right? But it ain't here. Look out, all those cities, they belong to me, you know. But Jesus, if you bow down to me, I will give you these cities to rule. Now, for some, that's an offer they can't refuse. But Jesus said, what did he say? Get thee behind me, Satan. And let me tell you something, in politics and government, whatever job you got, if money means more to you than your personal integrity as a black human being, then they print up all the statistics.
Greetings, listeners. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God. Welcome to the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. I am Brother David Muhammad, and I'm going to be in studio with you up to 9 o'clock this morning. And in a short while from now, I will open up the telephone lines and take your calls on 342-0081 and 466-5391. You can send messages directly to me on 332-0214. And you can go to the Street 919 FM's Facebook page this morning. And I'm on, as I usually am, on Saturday mornings. So you can follow the program on, just go to Facebook, the Street 919 FM. We have an interesting program lined up for you this morning. A few different things that we want to speak about. Of course, one of the issues that appears to be on the front burner still and coming back even more is the global, regional, and local coronavirus situation, COVID-19. And there are a number of global ironies and international issues that are major influential factors on this for the whole world, in particular the United States general election that is due in less than 2 months now. As a matter of fact, it's due in about 6 weeks. And I understand the first presidential debate between current President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden is coming up very shortly. But one of the major campaign issues, of course, there, as it was here, is the control, management, and treatment of the COVID-19 pandemic. And Donald Trump, President of the United States, has been the catalyst behind what has been called the Warp Speed project to get a COVID-19 vaccine. And it's understood that it's actually his objective to achieve this before the election. Now, the election, I believe, is either November the 4th or the 5th or the 6th, but basically it's the first week in the month of November. We are in the second half of the month of September. Many scientists and medical professionals say that to get a proper vaccine, it takes about 10 years. And the major component of that entire project to ensure that you have an effective vaccine is to test it. And some of these trials, even though you start testing today, you have to observe the recipient of the vaccine over a prolonged period of time, at least 1 year, to see exactly how they react. And coupled with all of this is this talk about the need for African people, and in the United States, the need for African Americans to participate in these trials. Now, if you have barely 6 weeks left for the presidential election, and they're trying to rush this through, as we all know, whatever happens in America has a domino trickle-down effect on the rest of the world. And us in the Caribbean region would feel it even more, as we're also familiar with that old saying that when America catches a cold, it's the Caribbean that sneezes. No pun intended with this COVID-19. But those are direct influential factors. Meanwhile, here at home in Trinidad and Tobago, based on the current trend, it looks like that by next week this time, if the present rate continues, we would have crossed the 4,000 mark. Now remember, we were stagnated for quite a while at 138 cases, 8 deaths. 138 cases, 8 deaths. And then, I mean, there are a number of different things that we could look at as causal factors, but the most identifiable one has been the general election that took place on August the 10th, where from that time to now, barely 5 weeks ago, we have had almost that same 138 number of cases every 2 days, after it was at that number for almost an entire month. In addition to that, our death rate has been increasing, and in the English-speaking Caribbean, we are actually second now. We have more deaths than Jamaica. Jamaica, who has more than double our population, and Jamaica, who had crossed 1,000 when we were still, I think, around 100. Jamaica now has 4,571 cases, but 55 deaths. Trinidad and Tobago has just 3,651 cases with 60 deaths. The only other country in the English-speaking Caribbean with more deaths than Trinidad and Tobago is the Bahamas, who incidentally has less confirmed cases than we do. The Bahamas has 3,177 cases, which is a horrific picture for them, seeing that they have barely 1/3 of our population and 1/6 of the population of Jamaica. But Jamaica also had a general election a few weeks ago, and we have seen an increased pattern over there as well, but Trinidad and Tobago seems to be a little worse off than them. And then we had Guyana. Now, the strange thing about Guyana is Guyana was almost neck and neck with the same number of cases as Trinidad and Tobago, because it was when Trinidad and Tobago had crossed 1,000 cases, Guyana had just crossed 1,000 as well. And I think when we had crossed 500, they had just crossed 500 too. Same thing with the 700 mark, the 800 mark, the 900 mark. So Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana were just about neck and neck with this. And then out of the blue, Trinidad and Tobago catapulted, and Guyana's numbers slowed down. But Guyana also have a terrible situation with the deaths, well, relatively, because Guyana has 2,102 confirmed cases and 62 deaths, which is actually 2 more than Trinidad and Tobago. So while their numbers slow down, Trinidad and Tobago's numbers continued, but their deaths continued. And then with that fourth pillar of CARICOM, as we have the 4 pillars, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Guyana, and Barbados, without a doubt, by far the most remarkable management of the COVID-19 pandemic has been out of Barbados. As a matter of fact, I don't think anywhere in the English-speaking Caribbean compares to Barbados. Barbados has just 185 cases. Now let's make that comparison for a moment, because Barbados has about 1/5 of the population of Trinidad and Tobago. 1/5. More than 1/6. Sorry, more than 1/5, less than 1/6, or more than 1/6, less than 1/5. I hope I'm saying that right. That's a little brain twister with these fractions. So Barbados, let me say it safe, has approximately 1/5 of our population. I should say more than a quarter, but less than a fifth, right? Forget the sixth. So Barbados, with less than 200 cases, if we were to do a comparison by proportion, Barbados would have had approximately 1,000 cases in all if they had our same population. They would have had actually less than 1,000 because they have 185. And they've only had 7 deaths. But in addition to this, Barbados is one of the most densely populated countries in the whole world. Barbados's density of population is more than 1,000 people in a square kilometer. And I think it's about 1,300 people per square mile. So Barbados has, on the surface, just looking at the statistics on paper, they have more general risk factors than anywhere else in the Caribbean. because Barbados is a crowded island. Trinidad and Tobago is not. Maybe the western half of Trinidad is fairly densely populated, but the eastern half of Trinidad has less than a quarter of the population of the western part. Some may even estimate 1/10 of the population on the eastern half of Trinidad to the western half. So here Barbados is very crowded, very densely populated. But for many years, they've also had a certain standard of living that is a little bit above the average Caribbean territory. Now remember, Trinidad and Tobago is the wealthiest in the entire English-speaking Caribbean. Again, Bahamas, only place that had a higher GDP than us. But Trinidad and Tobago has been up there. We are generally a rich country. But inside Trinidad, there are some issues. Just like United States of America, GDP per capita, one of the highest, if not the highest in the world. Don't know exactly what the current standing is, but very wealthy country on the surface. But inside America, you have certain areas, especially where our people live, that are subject to persistent historical conditions of institutionalized and systemic racism, political neglect, abandonment. This process that they called redlining, where town and country planning authorities would take maps and redline areas. This was an actual governmental practice up to the 1960s or 70s, where a court ruled it as illegal to actually zone areas where you will put black people to live or poor people to live and restrict by opportunity, preventing upward social mobility of those in the poorer classes. That was by design. And even though redlining is against the law now, obviously it is still done. So coming back to Trinidad and Tobago, now, rich country. But the gap between the rich and the poor is so wide. I was making the point last week that it is the Industrial Revolution, late 1700s through the 1800s, that really maximized this gap between the rich and the poor. And Dr. Eric Williams, in his doctoral thesis, Capitalism and Slavery, made the point that it was the enslavement of African people that was the economic driving force behind the Industrial Revolution, which gave Europe so much wealth. But economic statistics today show us that at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the richest country in the world had 3 times more wealth per capita, this is per individual, than the poorest country in the world. And the richest countries in the world at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution were England and Holland. Okay? England and Holland. At the beginning of the 1800s, 2 richest countries in the world. How did they get so rich? Of course, stealing the wealth from Africa, trafficking and trading enslaved Africans. So they got their wealth from that. And then after the wealth that was stolen from Africa, they were able to springboard the Industrial Revolution. But the point at this very moment is that at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, at the beginning of the 1800s, late 1700s, the richest countries in the world, which were England and Holland, had 3 times more wealth than the poorest countries in the world, which were India and China. Now in the year 2020, It is estimated that the richest countries in the world have 110 times more wealth than the poorest countries in the world. Now think about that. From 3 times more wealth, say 200 years ago, to now 110 times more wealth now. That's a map that you can put down. And when it comes to these inequalities between rich and poor, you see patterns that can be tracked and traced to this coronavirus pandemic. Because even in the rich countries, take England, America, France, Spain, Italy. In all 5 of these nations, it's African people who have a higher statistical rate of being infected. And it's not biological, but it is social. And that was not even spoken about really until the Final Call newspaper began to address the issue. Now, on Monday, beloved, on Monday, for the Black Agenda, we will be discussing a topic that is of critical importance to this country and to countries all over the world related to the COVID-19 pandemic. But even though it's one of the most important issues, it is at the same time probably the least discussed in any forum, press conference, address to the nation that any government would have had within recent times. It has probably not even been given mention. And what I'm talking about is the fact that our societies have seemed to forgotten our prison population. There's some information coming out of the prisons right now that are shocking and horrifying, which we will speak about on Monday evening, inshallah, on the Black Agenda. And the thing is that the conditions inside the prison before COVID-19 were worse than any conditions that we could be living in now where COVID-19 is spreading rampantly. Then you couple that with the COVID-19 infection, and our hearts go out not only to the prison inmates, but also the prison staff, the prison administration. Those prison officers have a job that is definitely a contender for the most difficult job that anyone in this country has. It is a living hell. And another brother who's a prison officer was murdered over the last few days. And even though, of course, we don't have any direct facts on those murders that have taken place consistently over the last 2 decades, really, of prison officers, it has been, however, concluded that a lot of these killings of prison officers over the last 20 years or so, because I think it's almost an average of 1 per year And then there was an accelerated rate within the last 10 years. Within the last 10 years, I think it's been something like 16. But it has been concluded that a lot of those murders arise out of conflict that has its genesis inside the prison system. That is something that needs to be considered. So we're going to look at that on Monday, inshallah. But this rising rate of COVID-19 in this country, when we look at Barbados, who have actually opened their borders but are managing, you see, it's something that we have to live with and learn. And some countries, England is another one, even though they've gone back with some lockdown measures as of, I think, today or yesterday or Monday. It's something that we have to live with. And Barbados, with 185 cases and only 7 deaths, while opening up their borders, I mean, it's almost miraculous. They're doing their best to continue life as normal while ensuring that their healthcare system is as efficient as it could be to manage the situation as it unfolds. But it's really amazing how they have dealt with it, how they are dealing with it. And I say congratulations to Barbados in advance of them becoming a republic. I remember for the 50th anniversary of Jamaica's independence, there was a whole lot of conversation about it. Portia Simpson Miller, who was prime minister at the time, was talking about Jamaica becoming a republic. Former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson as well had given numerous speeches about the importance of Jamaica becoming a republic. Now, the current government there, under our brother and friend Andrew Holness, are apparently less inclined than the PNP. The JLP seems to be less inclined to become a republic. But it's really heartwarming to see Barbados out of the blue, make this announcement. And I believe they're going to do it next year, November 30th. Because they said 450 days, and doing the calculation, it comes up to around their independence, which is November 30th. And I was blessed to be a guest of the Barbados government's independence celebration. I think it was their 40th. No, it wasn't their 40th. It was in 2012. Barbados became independent in 1966. That's 76, 86, 96, 2006. Right. So that would have been their 46th, I think, with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So that was 2012. And they had their ceremony, and we were honored guests of Prime Minister Frundell Stewart at the time. So, congratulations to Barbados. That's some heavy consciousness going on there in Barbados. Trust me. Trust me, that country, I believe, will see growth in so many different ways under their current Prime Minister, Sister Mia Mottley. All right, so let me open up the telephone lines. I also want to say something. Don't know if it will be today. Probably will be, but I don't want to get into it now because I've already taken enough time. But how do I describe it? The lust of the current Minister of Finance to sell off CLECO's assets. And we need to see, and I'm sure because I know how people like that think, they need to understand that CLECO, because it was a couple of years back where they came out with this enthusiasm about selling Clico, taking over control of Clico. The legacy of Clico remains as one of the greatest African success stories in the entire Caribbean. The story of Clico remains one of the most economically inspirational stories for African people in the entire Caribbean, more so for Trinidad and Tobago, with our specific national African pride over the achievements of Clico. But there has been this lust by the current Minister of Finance to what would amount to erasing that legacy. And now we're coming back again after we went through that about 2 years ago. We're hearing about the sale of Trin City Mall and Long Circular Mall, both properties of Clico. My quote-unquote career as a radio presenter started 20 years ago. 19 years ago, to be specific, around this exact same time. Because the first program, the first talk program that I ever hosted was on September the 10th, 2001. And my first program was a live interview with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. September the 10th, 2001. How do I remember that date so well? Well, because the next day was one of the biggest days in world history, September 11th, 2001, where the terrorist attacks took place. And I'll never forget the last question, because it was a phone-in program as well. The last question that was asked to Minister Farrakhan was regarding the persecution and the bombing of all these foreign nations, Iraq and Afghanistan, and you know, the minister said that is a big mistake to take that kind of antagonistic approach against the whole country. And while you have an argument with a government, you proceed to destroy the whole country, where there'll be people in that country who don't even agree with the government, who become the victims of murder and impoverishment and disease. And he said that creates a cycle where it comes back around. Then the next day, September 11th, we saw the two planes flying into the Twin Towers. It was shocking. It was shocking. So, why did I bring that up? Because, like I said, that was my first day. The radio station was 104.1 FM, Ebony 104.1 FM. And the radio station was in Long Circular Mall, which is owned by Clico. The radio station was also owned by Clico. And I remember back then, 19 years ago, marveling over the fact that this great achievement, this great economic empire that they built, CL Financial Group of companies, had a conscious black man at the helm of it, who decided to, in 1927, when he was in Chicago, decided to use the term colonial life for his business, because the term colonial was used as a mockery against African people, that we were colonials according to the first world perspective. And he took something negative, transformed it into something positive. And that legacy lived on. And now there's an attempt to erase that legacy. All right, so 7:43. And let's go to the phone lines. Like I said, 342-0081 and 466-5391. Caller, good morning. Caller, are you there? Caller? All right, so something's wrong with your signal. Let me take another caller. Good morning.
Assalamu alaikum. Can I still it, Brother David?
Walaikum salam, brother. How you doing?
Well, maybe I was getting in this one because the past few programs I couldn't get in at all.
Okay.
Maybe this is my day. Yeah, but David, before I make a point, I want to say something. You know, there was a brother there and I was speaking about here in India with the women and the. But I want to tell him something. That there's a temple in India they call the hair temple, where Indian women go and cut off the hair in sacrifice. There are thousands of barbers in that temple, and what they do, they take the hair, they wash it, and then they clean it, and they ship it to Africa and the Caribbean and these places. They say that that's over $500 million US business. So the Indian woman going with the sacrifice, they don't even know what is going on with the hair. They take the hair, they wash it, shampoo it, and ship it to the Caribbean. Caribbean women and African women are wearing this hair. In life, nothing that grows down have life. Everything with life, it grows up. Our hair are the only hair that grow up. All other race, the hair go down. Down is death. You're dead, they bury you. The leaves fall off the trees when it's dry season to blossom new leaves. In spring, they drop the leaves. You plant something, go down into the everything that doesn't have life, it goes down. Everything with life goes up. So I don't know what. Why is we going to understand that? You understand? Our people are going to understand. It's their hair that they're using. Maybe that is why they think how we think. You know, Brother David, Doctor, I think every caller on your program should at least have that black anthology.
Oh, and they cut you off after you said that. Wow. Don't know what happened there. Sorry about that, but you can try calling back if you like. Caller, are you there? Caller? Okay, seem to be having some problems with that particular line. Let me try again. Caller, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah.
Walaikum salam, my brother. How are you?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, my brother. Alhamdulillah, just beginning the program, you know. I just called it to make sure that everything is okay with you.
Yes, sir. Everything is fine. We're looking forward to this week ahead.
Well, inshallah. This program with the year and them kind of thing that people are saying, I watched yesterday and I see most of the Negro wear this way. It's a shame. The only time I used to wear Afro, I used to make Afro comb and thing long time. From the age of 15 until Afro comb walking around selling Afro comb and thing. But I just have enough joy in my life, you know. I had a hustle by cinema too, you know, those days they could have paid 25 cents to go to cinema.
Right. Which cinemas in particular?
Well, I used to go like Strand Cinema, Rexy Cinema. I used to
Rex?
from Fernando. Yeah.
In Tobago? Oh, there was one in Diego Martin, right?
Yes.
Right. Rex Diego Martin, yes, and Rex in Tobago.
Yes. That was the first cinema I went in. Is Strand Cinema in Point 14.
Stranded, right. Strand Point 14.
Metropole.
Metro.
Yeah, when Mr. James Philbert now coming as a police, the first person tried to lock up was me, you know.
Wow, what a claim to fame, Hagler.
In those days, I lining late and thing now. The miserable fella and thing. I mean, and thing. Those days they could charge you for blood train or something like that. Very miserable. Wasn't in crime, but just miserable. So Mr. Philbert know me is very, very good. We just stand up and talk and things. You know, he's attorney at law.
Right.
Yeah, his office right behind the market in Point 14.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
No.
Well, didn't I tell you the last time that you called that every time you called into the program I learned something that I didn't know before? Didn't I tell you that on Tuesday night? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's it for today.
After the day before yesterday, me and Michael Paul, if you remember, he was the former middleweight champion of Kenya, Toledo. He beat Carlos Mark. David, I can remember Michael Paul.
Vaguely.
He lived in the beat he was TSTT. We were talking and I just can't remember the middle song, you know. I leave when I went somewhere, like when you were too small. And we were talking and thing about the sport. Our sport is very weak here. And I was like, people like you and I could go into the ministry to see if we could get into the sport because it's falling very badly. You understand? But I will leave it there because I'm going to work right now.
All right, Hagler. Have a great day. Thank you for calling.
From my brother.
Oh, yeah, 3420081 and 4665391. Oh, how Trinidad and Tobago has changed. Good morning, caller.
Morning, Brother David.
Sojans, how you doing?
Hi there. Brother David, I listen you talking about the corona and whatever. Brother David, it makes me realize the ideas that the Almighty God put in my head. Like it's true. Brother David, when I studied, from the time corona come out, I start, because long time, I just study the chemistry, physics, and science of life. It's years I've been talking about that, right? That doesn't talk about the topic so much. But within studying the chemistry, physics, and science of life, I start studying the globe, right? And, from a long time, way before them scientists used to talk about the sky is water. I remember I used to talk about that a long time, way back when. I get to realize, I had a song on it there, and I start studying how the dew drop and the mountains flow. And something, I get to realize is the pressure of the earth from the lava will just push water up a hill. And where it has rocks, where the place more hard, it just go high up. It's through the rocks, and that's why it just come down to mountains. And then I realized from a long time, Brother David, right, the sun and the gases passing through the globe, right, that create like a fridge, that just create water because it has different gases, and then it have a electronic force field is becoming from the sun, like it's impulse, like, right, and that does create lightning, right, because everything is electronic, and it's the same electronics in man, we make up of that kind of electronic magnetic force field, Brother David, and they learn to tap into it. We is just like a phone. We human beings is just like a phone. Our phone to pick up a virus and spoil. We is just so. So we know this coronavirus is something that is turn up and turn down. You see, it's that's logical. All the time before election, because they have an agenda, a special agenda for Trinidad. They realize they have a lot of truth. So what's going on? Before the election, they turn down the switch. So only 8 people dead. Whenever they want more people to dead, big or small, they could turn it up. It's an electronic magnetic force field, Brother David, they're working with now, right? It's a higher war. It's a war, because they must have war, because that's the way how the Satan designed the adversaries of death and destruction. So always create some kind of way to keep man dying. So from the food you eat, they give you a diet, right, to digest, and then you got die a little bit pleased. So everything is about, Satan, deception of death. Yeah, so that's what we to know, because he's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So it seems that things is good, but everything leading to death. Right, when the tree of life comes to bring life alone, me know nothing else more than life. You know what I'm saying? I never saw death upon myself since ever I know myself. Trust me, right? When I was younger, I used to wonder when the Almighty God put the ideas in my head. I used to wonder, you know what happened to me? 3 times I crashed the vehicle, right? And nothing never come out of me. Macked up. and walk out. One time I pick up a masher brakes on the highway and the pickup spin wrong and cars pass flying both sides of me. The car, the pickup go down in the bush, all right, and head for the same way in town where I was going. I just mash out and skate out the bush before the vehicle could have stopped down in the bush and drive out the precipice and go on. Me said, look back, right? But I David, since that, I stopped doing that because I realized, like, God didn't want me to do that because I didn't know nothing. I born dumb, didn't know nothing. But when God started to put these ideas in my head, I say, wait now, like, if we really have a new life, right, coming up, we are not too far. When I say a new life, a new world, a new system, a new government, I just call it the government of God.
All right, thanks a lot, Soldier Ants. But we pause for our break and then we'll be back for the 8 o'clock hour. Stay with us, don't go away.
Talk your talk, but we know talk. Come talk with us. The Street 919 FM.
Hey guys, it's Aisha Wells here. Listen up. If you're considering selling or renting your house in Trinidad and Tobago, then call Keelan George with O'Neill's Real Estate Group. He's a good friend of mine and he's been in the business for over 6 years. First, selling real estate in Atlanta, Georgia, and now right here in Trinidad and Tobago. He has a strategic online marketing presence that actually attracts thousands of home buyers and renters. Plus, with his home selling advice and techniques, he's getting homes sold really fast. Keelan will actually guarantee you sell your home or, get this, you can cancel the listing agreement and pay nothing at any time. That's right, you heard me, nothing at any time. Selling your home doesn't have to be stressful, people. Check out www.o'neillrealestatettt.com. O'Neill is spelled O-N-E-I-L, or just call Keelan direct at 363-4030. That's 363-4030.
There's only one way to start your week right, and that's to reset with Dr. Livette. Join him right here on your radio every Monday morning at 9 a.m. for your dose of the health and wellness program that is sure to change your life. Dr. Livette has transformed thousands of lives over the last decade and is now live on the Street 919 FM every Monday from 9 a.m. to transform yours. Tune in to learn more about herbal blends and U-Juice for building your immunities and promoting overall great health. Dr. Livette on the Street 919 FM. This and every Monday at 9 a.m. Don't diet, live mighty, live healthy, live it.
Get interactive with the Street 919 FM.
All day, every day. See us all live on our Facebook page.
Share and comment on our show.
Like our page.
Chat with our live on-air announcers.
The Street 919's Facebook page.
Live and interactive all day, every day. The Street 919 FM.
Come talk with us.
The Gospel of the Kingdom radio program with Gilbert James is now on the Street 919 FM every second, third, and fourth Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. and every first and third Sunday from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Monday. The Bible says, the Gospel of the Kingdom shall be preached in all the world as you witness all nations, and then the end shall come. For more info, call 652-0924 or 298-4540 and join us every second, third, and fourth Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. and every first and third Sunday from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Monday for the Gospel of the Kingdom radio program with Gilbert James.
Turn your lights down low and listen to the Master's radio.
Here's your opportunity to join Pastors Morris and Agnes Johnson of the Church of the Firstborn Assembly and guests as they lead in worship ministries of the Word and Prayer. That's every Sunday at 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. and every Wednesday from 9 p.m. to midnight on the Street 919 FM, where we deal with today's issues from a biblical perspective. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell everyone. You'll be given the opportunity to call in and interact with us. Your life and family will never be the same. You are welcome to visit our website, www.churchofthefirstbornassembly.org. Like us on Facebook. Your financial support will be greatly appreciated. Church of the Firstborn Assembly, account number 795222 at the First Citizens Bank. You can contact us at 753-1113.
with this racism. Stop killing we African people, stop killing we Africans, stop killing we. Cause we tired, yes we tired, but I got this put a helping hand. Tell me why they do not like the Africans. Father God, I don't know what we did to them. Every day they killing African children. So I want to know why they kill we. Send the police to kill we, and the army kill we, politicians to kill we. Father God, please answer we. Kill we. CIA want to kill we, KKK want to kill we, racist skinheads to kill we. Africans, we have to unite, build black business and treat each other right. Spend your money in black community. Only then they will have respect for we. Over 400 years we suffering. We survived the torture, burning, rapes, hangings. Cities burning up, the whole world protesting. Black people tired of hate and racism. So I ask again why they kill we. Send the police to kill we, and the army kill we, politicians to kill we. Father God, please answer we. Kill we. HIV me to kill we, COVID-19 to kill we, Ebola me to kill we. Africans, we have to unite.
Talk your talk, but we know talk. Come talk with us.
The Street
919 FM.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory.
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
So there's a need for brotherhood.
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
Brotherhood is demanded.
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential, it is urgent, and it is compulsory. But the time demands brotherhood. Whenever the dominant white society fears for its economic future, racial tensions are always aggravated. The aim of Almighty God is to bring the black man and woman together. The aim of Almighty God is that we, no matter how divided we have been in the past, must experience unity in order to gain the success that we seek and the progress that we desire. There is no way that a divided people can build a future. Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. So there's a need for brotherhood. But if you walk the earth proud and arrogant, you never learn your lesson because you think you already know. And how the hell could you know and be in the shape that we're in? How can there be any brotherhood if there's not even the honoring of a word?
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
Welcome back and welcome to the second hour of the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. We're going up to 9 o'clock, inshallah. And I just want to say something really briefly. There seems to be something a bit strange going on in Trinidad and Tobago economics. There seems to be a passion on the part of the current Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert, to sell off Clico's assets, as just a few years ago there was all of this zeal and enthusiasm over taking total control over Clico, selling it off and deleting the memory of the great economic empire that they had become with a black man at the root of it. Now, a couple of years later, we're hearing about the sale of Trin City Mall and Long Circular Mall. And again, there seems to be this drive to erase that great African legacy of the achievements of a black businessman who came so far and who was able to accomplish something that black people can be so proud of, but also motivated by. This idea of Clico started with Mr. Dupree in the city of Chicago back in 1927. It was he and his colleague, Sobrian, who had this concept of taking a negative derogatory remark that was used against them to be a motivational boost for them. Professor Selwyn Ryan writes in 2013 on black entrepreneurship, saying the two were both insurance agents, and the idea of quote-unquote black colonials starting such a business seemed crazy. The view was that nothing, quote-unquote, Professor Selwyn Ryan writes, that niggers did in the field of business could ever be successful. But they saw us as niggers, and we did do something that was very successful. So therefore, the history of it should be preserved or protected or saved in one way or another. Dupree himself spoke of a lack of confidence that people would have in them because they were black. The newly formed company was registered in 1936, and by 1985, Clico's assets in Trinidad and Tobago amounted to $695,928,934, and overseas assets across the Caribbean were valued at $746,947,177. That is a great achievement that our children should be informed about. There were more than 35,000 policyholders, and it must be noted that even though Trinidad and Tobago had a black government for its first 40 years of independence, Indian businessmen were still much more highly favored than Africans who still experienced great difficulty in accessing loans, according to the research of Professor Selwyn Ryan. Now, according to Maureen Thompson in 2008, in writing on Africans in business, she illustrates this favoritism that even African politicians have for Indian businessmen or white businessmen, Syrian businessmen, Chinese businessmen, French Creole businessmen, and the Africans are still marginalized by the financial institutions and unfavored by the black politicians, except it be to sacrifice ourselves on the altar of shame to be unconditional supporters and defenders, even if it is against our own people. Maureen Thompson writes of Ram Kirpalani, who owed over $250 million in bad debt. Now, Ram Kirpalani's legacy is big. They never tried to publicly shame him. As a matter of fact, there's a calypso that was written almost 20 years ago or more. Criticism of the government. If you can't run the country, call in Kirpalani. Because Kirpalani's legacy was great. And that would be used to inspire Indian children. But Ram Kirpalani owed over $250 million in debt, and according to Maureen Thompson, nearly crashed Republic Bank. Lucky Samaru flopped at least 2 or 3 local airlines, owing First Citizens Bank over $150 million, which allegedly he never paid back. Dr. Lenny Saith, who was an Indian minister in an African government, African-based government with majority African people, was pardoned a loan of $25 million by Prime Minister Patrick Manning. Now, you at home, if you owe Courts or American Stores or Standards payments for a fridge, a stove, furniture set, or television, they're going to come to your door and repossess it in front of your family. But here, Mr. Saith was pardoned $25 million. Mutilal Munan confessed that he owed the banks $63 million in bad debt. AVM TV owner Dale Colasing left a whopping $25 million in debt at his untimely death several years ago. Mohan Jaikaran, the so-called mogul and owner of Win TV, died a few years ago and left allegedly $60 million in debt. How come we can't even get the millions in our hands first to even owe it? Arthur Lockjack, Philip Hamill-Smith, and Norman Tang, all non-Africans, according to this report, had put up no personal guarantees, yet they were given loans for the Carlton Savannah Hotel in Port of Spain, amounting to almost $347 million. And that was in issue 84, Friday, 26 December 2014, and it was never challenged even in court. And these loans were either written off or never repaid to First Citizens Bank, which was the People's Bank. This was done under the tenure of Larry Hawaii, 2006 and 2011. And then Larry Hawaii himself got a $10 million gift on becoming a government minister, on leaving First Citizens Bank. Now, what does all of this tell us? Millions of dollars in debt, hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. African politicians, but privileged to all non-African businessmen. And here we see a local white minister of finance in an African majority government relentlessly going after Clico's assets. Sell Long Circular Mall, sell Trin City Mall, publicly shame the whole industry and all that they achieved. So by soon that legacy will be totally erased. And one less success story for our African children to be able to share and be inspired by. Well, that is why we the people have to lift our voices, beloved. And I hope that some of our African brothers and sisters inside the government are sensitive to this and try in one way or another, again, no special treatment, but to just rescue that legacy of that African business success story in the same way, no different, in the same way that we protected the hundreds of millions of Ram Kirpalani, Lucky Samaru, Jai Mokaran, and all of the others who were privileged to be saved, Mutilal Moonan and Dr. Lenny Saith and Dale Colasing and the rest. Think, beloved. All right, so let's go back to the phone lines. Our numbers are 342-0081 and 466-5391. Caller, good morning. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, brother David.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah, brother David, you see what happened? And when then they give the impression, especially there's one who says that you're a teacher. I don't even like to get into him, you know why? Because the psychology that he's using on our people, he started sneaky until they get into all stations now and always condemning and criticizing and making us feel we haven't contributed, haven't done anything in this country. But that's how our racists operate, you know. You have to identify them and don't even respond to them. What you have to do is to show them what you have done, what they have achieved by you and from you. You see what you have done here this morning? This is what we have to show them as far as we are concerned. One of the most honest people in this world is African people, you know. And I think that is one of this is my say that is one of our problems. We're too honest in this world. That is why we are suffering. You understand? And I mean, I remember Clico. As an infant, I remember when I'm Civil Dupre. You understand? When he started the business and with the insurance and this sort of thing going around, you understand? And I think, you know, that to sit there and see this legacy, you understand, lost at this period in time in life, you understand, it will be a sad thing, very, very sad. I make it, Ram Kirpalani, it was Chokras who sing when they can run the country bringing Kirpalani. I remember that, you understand. So this is what it will be, always to show sympathy to the other groups, excepting our group. You understand? As what his name said, Malcolm X, if I can convince you that you could do nothing, then you'll do nothing. And that is how they make us believe that we could do nothing. You understand? And this is where we go. But what I want to say is when I get cut off, it was, you didn't cut me off, I got cut off. It was about Jomo Kenyatta, who had said, when the white man came into Africa, the Africans had the land, and he had the Bible. He tell them to close their and pray. When they open their eyes, they have the Bible, and he has the land. He still have the land. He still have the land, and we still have the Bible. You understand? This is what we have to understand. What they do, they give each side guns. So while we fighting one another, they go with all the resources. Jomo Kenyatta also spoke about the quote when we talk about imperialism. The people should buy your book, you know. Buy your book, buy all book with Africans, our stories and tell it, with the elephant and the pan, he friend with the hut.
Yeah.
You remember that? You understand that? What he did, he begged him in the tunnel storm to put his trunk inside of the hut. He allowed him to put his trunk. Then he put
I'll read that hopefully on Tuesday. Hopefully on Tuesday. Yeah. Yes. But if you remind me.
Yes, I'll do that because he threw him outside the hut and then he gave partners with Mr. Rainer Ross, Mr. Fox and all them to come. Gang up in a commission of inquiry, commissioned by Lion. You know, I mean, people have to get your all history, all African history. Please educate yourself so that when people like the one from South come in to try to embarrass and to make us feel that we have done nothing, you don't have to go into the ignorance that he's saying. You can show what you have done. They talk about behind the bridge. Behind the bridge has for the most ignorant people and the most dutiful people. Dutiful people like Hamilton Holder, Professor Bartholomew, Macandal Daga, Clinton Bernard, Dr. What is it? The first eye specialist here in Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Mark Shine. Those are all the criminals and barjones that they had behind the bridge. People must get into our history. Get our story so you can tell our story so you can walk with the head upright. You can show them that they are worshiping you. They're worshiping you as God, you understand? They are worshiping you. Have to do these things. So when he did nonsense and psychological, they feel that he was a teacher, but he never teach people like who was taught by DDA behind the bridge in the street boys RC. But anyway, these are things we have to get into. So when they come with the ignorance, we can show them who we are, what we have. We make all of them who they are today. We make all of them rich. They take our music and put it into the bar and start to play to attract us for us to come to get our money. Why don't play Indian music in the bars and then, or Chinese music in the bars and then? Why is only African music they play? That is to attract you to come into the bar to get your money when you get paid. But you see that, but Jomo Kenyatta, I would like you to remember.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
You know, it's a great piece of quoting by him. Have a good day, my brother.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Good morning, caller. Caller, good morning. All right, you'll need to try to adjust that. I'm not getting you at all. Caller on WhatsApp. Yes, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Marley.
How you doing?
Yeah, man, that's good, man. I was just thinking about how you mentioned 9/11, where you're talking about this whole coronavirus, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what I come to realize soon, I don't know if you ever see the documentary, In Plain Sight.
Of course.
Oh, right, yeah. It seems to the people who was behind that whole 9/11, we take it out. It seems to the people behind this whole pandemic, coronavirus situation. If you check out, all right, SARS, the drug that they use to combat SARS, it's a chlorophyll. You know, they say, well, they make sure you drink and whatever, all that drug, and you know, this also the bus of the SARS too, COVID-19. They take it off the market one time.
You know what?
I feel like well, like the person that's on the anti-Semiticness. The secretary is all about economic reset, you know.
Yeah. You just reminded me of something as well.
Yeah, that's what I want to say that. You know?
All right, thanks a lot.
If you could even go further and check out this man, JFK, he was about to reveal the secret on inside the Federal Reserve about him getting head what's up.
Right, well, there are a lot of different theories on him. But thanks a lot. You just reminded me of something. I'm going to play something now, before I forget.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot. All right, now listen to this. This is from 2003, all right? It is a clip from a film made in 2003. It's very short, but listen to some of the things that are being said 17 years ago, okay? 17 years ago. Listen.
Just to let you know, it was there long ago. The fix was there long ago. Watch this.
All right, what's going on? Just let me think about where to start.
Well, he saw something. What is it?
I saw a virus. I think some kind of disease.
A virus? Like what? Like SARS?
I don't know. All I know is that it's highly infectious and it may be fatal. Right now, we could all be infected. If we take this outside, we risk the whole town.
Johnny, how big is this gonna get?
I don't know. We just have to do everything we can to stop this, starting right now, Walt.
He's right. All right, here's what's going to happen. We need to make sure that everybody that's inside stays inside. I'm going to get a few deputies on it. We'll call it a lockdown.
Lockdown?
Well, until I come up with something better.
Walt, no. No, you cannot lock the school doors.
This is for your family's safety.
Will I get sick too?
Maybe we should wear masks.
What difference does it make? According to you, we've already been exposed. Let's get one thing straight, Mr. Smith. I'm responding to political pressure. You have no reason to be scared. Let me ask you something, Amy. Animals. You've been around any animals in the backyard, even, let's say, a skunk, a raccoon? I'm going to swab the inside of your mouth with this little Q-tip. trying to get a handle on this animal. Damn efficient airborne transmission. Blood tests and swabs aren't telling us much. We know it acts like a virus. It causes high fever and respiratory distress. Tracking and treating a mysterious outbreak like this would take the CDC months.
We better get started then. Anyone who hasn't been exposed already needs to wear a mask.
China? Isn't that where flu viruses come from? Yeah. A lot of viruses come from there. International flight to China? That's no coincidence. Whatever it is, it originated in China.
Time is not on our side.
It's like looking for a needle in a needle stack.
We have ruled out all the usual suspects: influenza, SARS, bacterial pneumonia.
How long is that going to take? Well, it took 34 days to isolate the coronavirus that caused SARS, and that's fast.
I'm authorizing a quarantine on everyone who's come in contact with a symptomatic person.
There's got to be something I can do.
On the enzyme, this virus is when they were using to treat malaria.
So the chloroquine. This is it. This is your virus.
I'm sorry, but there's no cure for that. Chloroquine, that's an anti-malarial drug.
No. Listen, it suppresses the enzymes.
Now, clearly I don't want to add to any already existing paranoia, but that a film from 17 years ago, and remember we had pointed out in the earlier days of this, and we have to bring back a lot of this information, we had pointed out the fact that you have this book that was written by an author named Dean Koontz in 1981. This is almost 40 years ago, entitled The Eyes of Darkness, and its relation to the coronavirus outbreak. And in this book, let me just find the quote for you. Dean Koontz wrote in the book that in around 2020, now remember this was written in 1981. The book says, in around 2020, a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the globe, attacking the lungs and the bronchial tubes and resisting all known treatments. Almost more baffling than the illness itself will be the fact that it will suddenly vanish as quickly as it arrived, attack again 10 years later, and then disappear completely. Then another part of the book says, they call it, quote, Wuhan 400, because it was developed at the RDNA labs outside the city of Wuhan, China, which is exactly where they say coronavirus came from. And it was the 400th viable strain of man-made microorganisms created at the research center. It says Wuhan 400 is a perfect weapon. It afflicts only human beings. No other living creature can carry it. Unlike syphilis, Wuhan 400 cannot survive outside a living body. Now, that was written 39 years ago about this virus coming out of Wuhan, China in the year 2020. Look at it. In the year 1981, they said that this virus will spread across the globe in the year 2020, sorry. Then in that film from 17 years ago, they actually mentioned coronavirus, and then you hear like an inner thought in the person's mind talking about hydroxychloroquine or whatever the treatment was, which is the main thing that's being discussed today. The whole thing about quarantining and wearing a mask, that was fiction 17 years ago. But as they say, art imitates life, and life imitates art, and truth is even stranger than fiction. Caller, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am good, give thanks. I am
Great.
good. You couldn't have said it better, and it's a known fact. It's truth is stranger than fiction. Look at what you just played there. Can you imagine? But all these facts that you came out with there about these people who owe in so much and manage to get loans, and we cannot. And we are known that we lazy and we can't do anything. Is there any people who work harder than African people in this country? There isn't. The latest you hear with East Indian people is that why they are so successful is because they take more risk than us, and they take more risk than us. So I'm asking this person who tell me, I say, what you mean by take more risk? What you're doing is sugarcoating and making it easy to process illegal dealings and underhand dealings and taking loans and not paying them back. That is what you're talking about, take risk? To make it sound nice to the air? Each and every one of them who have this great success story of working hard, scratch the surface. Only a set of illegal things and bubble, and with this front that, oh, they work so hard more than everybody. Have anybody work? Anytime you see a human being replacing the thing of a sledgehammer or a jackhammer, what who you see behind it is an African. It have anybody who work harder than us, who upkeep all these businesses that they have there. You know? But that's how it is. But coming to this here business too. Listen, that thing is so disgusting in this day and age, because to me, like, it's getting worse. African people had pride in their hair long ago, more than they have now. I don't know what's going on. And you want to tell me when you go to temple to sacrifice your hair and all kinds of things, it's all kind of negative energy is coming out and going with that hair. They let it out in the hair, and then you come in and putting that on top of your head and walking up and down the place with it looking so silly because it looks so alien to your natural being. What is that? Now, this teacher that this gentleman spoke about, this man lives in Penal, and he taught all his years up here in the depressed areas. It is a known fact that teachers like to live close to the home for so many reasons, because wear and tear if you have a car, wear and tear on your car, or even if you have to take transport. No, what teachers is walk within walking distance and so on. But you leaving quite down there at the end of Trinidad to come up to teach up here. My belly just boiled when I just think about what those children for how many years went through under this man. You know? Anyways, I tell you, yes, that's the situation. That's how it is. We did nothing. We accomplished nothing. And billions in loans, unpaid and forgiven, and we can't even get a loan. But all I am asking is that you stay on it and keep bringing out the information, bringing it out, because you don't hear these things otherwise. You don't hear these things otherwise. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, caller.
Hi, morning, David. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you doing?
All right, so you give your outline who did not, who got through. Were there any African people that offered themselves for those same privilege? One. Number two.
Say that again, sorry?
Right, so you outline all the people who got through and end up, by the way, to me, all of them end up pretty sad. Who died on bankruptcy and so on.
Right.
Were there any African people offered themselves in those positions and were refused. One.
Who offered themselves?
For example, Mohan Jaikon, was he called? Was Kripalani called? Did they put themselves in position to say, well, I need that loan? Were they called to get that? And if they did, were there African people that did the same and were refused?
Wait.
To be not in a position?
Okay. I'm a bit confused as to what point are you trying to make in raising that?
You claimed Mohan Jaikon, you called name, and they were offered loans and money for the businesses.
No, wait, 1 second. Yeah. 1 second.
Right.
And let me caution you in trying to defend this. I know, hold on. I'm drawing a line. My brother, I'm drawing a line with you. I know that you are a passionate defender of your government. I know that. And I admire and respect that. But hold on 1 second. But I want to caution you from falling into a trap as a black man defending the privilege of non-Africans and justifying the economic, ethnic discrimination against African people. So I want to caution you against that first of all. Secondly, it's not a matter of, first of all, my point was not in them getting loans. No. My point is the forgiveness of debt.
Right.
And the same way, I already pointed out that you have the simple person who will owe an appliance store, who will come to their home and repossess something that they owe small money on. Meanwhile, at the same time, you have all of these non-African mega businessmen who have been forgiven tens of millions of dollars in debt, and many times even given second and third chances to go at it again. Added to that research, because I'm a bit rattled by you wanting to defend this. Because added to this research, because it appears you need clarity, added to this research is the fact that you have a consistent pattern.
You're talking me down, David. You're talking me down, and I think that, I think even if that I may have you with a bit of unease with what I explained.
Wait. No, I'm not talking you down. What do you mean by talking you down?
A lady called in and telling me that people out there, Indian people don't take risks. I'm not denouncing that. There are people out there who take risks.
That's okay. So that's her opinion. I'm letting. She gave her opinion in the same way that you're giving yours, but you can't hold me accountable for her opinion because this program has multiple broad opinions.
It can't be generalized in the context of our not being successful. I want to know who would have been in a position to get forgiveness and won't given. And in the context of that, we got what we have is excuses to create passion as to why we didn't get through. Why are we not getting through? For example, if it is that we talk about Clico and the situation in Clico, I was proud. I was part of policyholder in Clico, and the returns were pretty good. And after today, I'm proud of the DuPont and they. But you have people like Dr. Selwyn Ryan, you have people like Professor Bartholomew. These were really educated and organized men. What was their position collectively to create the drive for African people with that information? They just put it out there for us to complain.
Why are you complaining about that research, though? Doesn't it mean anything to you? But wait, one second. I'm trying my best to listen. But doesn't it mean anything to you? How could you, let me put it this way, how could you, in the face of such clear and blatant economic injustice against African people, how could you call in to complain about the fact that the research is out there and that we know the truth, and then hold the bearer of the truth accountable?
What African people, you're talking against African people, so you call Indians and you call, so what were the African people who did not get that offer?
What do you mean you did not get it? There are loads. Listen, we could give you a laundry list of... okay, hold on. You're asking specific questions but complaining about the answers. In that same research, you have a pattern. Hold on. Let me give it to you straight up. And we're not just talking about one case or two cases or three cases. You have prolonged data that shows that 66% of the people who approached banks for loans were African. All right? Sorry, no. No, hold on. 27% of the people who approached the banks for loans were Africans. 66% of them got, right? And those loans were for small quantities in comparison to the local whites, who were 36% of those who approached the banks for loans, and 100% of them received the loans that they approached the banks for. 100%, and those quantities were in millions.
This is 2020. What period are we talking about?
Oh, jeez. What is your point? What are you trying to defend?
One thing is that if it is from 1983 or 84, African people did not have that problem with loans. Why am I being told now in 2020 about this narrative when we could be talking about our success based on our improvement against that bias? Meaning that I have to endure that bias where African people remain the same way, even though the opportunity is there.
Okay, so you want to talk about 2020?
Right.
All right, let's...
2020 for me because...
All right, okay, all right, let's talk about 2020. Let's talk about 2020. CLICO's assets are on sale in 2020, and you have a Minister of Finance who has a clear zeal, passion, and enthusiasm to showcase CLICO as a public failure in 2020. Now, Long Circular Mall and Trinity Mall are being put up for sale, and all of this is part of a legacy of a black man that started back in 1927, who took note, even used the word niggers, that those people whom they interface with always felt that they could never achieve anything because they were niggers. Now we come up to the year 2020. And we have the opportunity to preserve that history of CLICO in the same way that we did it for Kipalani, the same way that we did it for Motilal Moonan, in the same way that we did it for Mohan Jaikaran and Dale Kola Singh and Lucky Samaru, in the same way that we did it for them. I am simply saying, why cannot it be done in the year 2020 for CLICO?
Who are the African people putting themselves together to defy such an act?
Well, I am starting it, but you're trying to cut it down. But here I am trying to raise a conversation. But before that conversation will barely even get out the airwaves, you as a black man are calling in to try to challenge that narrative for the sake of what? So that Colm Imbert comes out not looking like a tyrant?
Listen to me. The thing of it, I am really tired of, yes, you hear what is happening to us. What are we doing? For example, listen, for example.
Yeah.
The UNC, and I'm bringing UNC here, their lawyers, East Indian lawyers, are willing to challenge things when they come together to deal with issues like that.
Yeah, but you challenging me instead of you challenging the deleting of the legacy of CLICO. You, instead of you standing with me to say, yes, brother, good point, we need to protect the legacy of this African business. Instead of doing that, you calling in to challenge what I am saying and bring up all kind of stuff about which are the Africans and how are the people.
So challenging the sadness of some people who were given forgiveness and against the backdrop that who were the African people involved in business with those of the loans.
Oh, man, that's a lot of deflection, brother. That's a lot of deflection. But let me cut to the chase with you. Do you agree with me then? Well, let me ask you straight.
I'm in agreement with you with respect to CLICO. I'm in agreement with you.
No. Okay, no. I'm going to be more specific than that. Do you agree with me that the Minister of Finance can find another way or the government in general can find a way to protect and preserve the legacy of CLICO without going through the kind of persistent public ridicule that is currently taking place. Instead of asking about what other Africans are doing, I'm asking you, do you agree that the government can step in and save CLICO?
Yes, I think if they can, I will just...
Okay, forget about if they can. Do you think they should? Do you think they should?
But here's something.
No, do you think they should?
They should.
Okay. All right, well, we're on the same page then. We didn't have to go through all that.
Listen up, we're on the same page. What my problem is, David, is that I always call the program to tell you, listen, I'm educated on it. What are the actions from our side?
All right.
Into the circle for attainment. What are we doing?
All right, we just started this conversation.
Yes, because it's hurtful to me when I'm hearing, for example, when I remember there was an issue where even the whole question of equal opportunity, it was chartered and pushed by an East Indian group in our society. They move, they act to get results. We just listen, we complain about the data, and we leave it there. That is my problem, David. Who is coming together? This Salman, Ryan, this one, strong certain people with lawyers and everything. What are they doing? Nothing. We just sit there and we depend on the Minister of Finance, and then when we sell it to somebody else that are probably not African, we complain. That's what we do, David. And I am tired of it.
Well, do you realize, though, I don't want to continue on, but do you realize that you are complaining about complaining?
Well, I don't want the psychological thing. I think you think I make sense when I said, listen, in our group, we always have talked about coming together, and unity is strength. Strength in numbers.
Right. Yeah, but you're complaining about other people complaining.
No.
Yes.
I'm listening to it, and those in the position, because they are black people, the people call the radio station are simple people. The people who write the narrative money from the books are people in position to do so. Black lawyers, African lawyers, there's a fellow who advocates for anything concerning of East Indian people. Go PO. We don't, David. We just stay there as an African man and we say we're coming together and we're doing us evil. What are we doing to decide those in within leadership outside of politics?
Well, you know what some people will say that we can do? Some people will say, okay, well, the solution is to vote in African-conscious politicians who will make the difference. But the problem here is that you have a Minister of Finance who has been deputized with a certain degree of authority to start this mission that he has been on and even continue it after 2 years without anyone putting him in check. And do you realize that right now where I am, and you can read between the lines for this one.
I'm educated this morning by you with respect to that whole creek up there, but I'm still saying that education is good. What you do with your education to create action for us to be proud is another subject, and I'm not getting that subject. I only get education. So in other words, I'm a lawyer, I make my money and I go home. What about 10 lawyers coming together for a specific purpose under the umbrella of African development? Nothing from the African group. We just stay quiet.
But that's where organization comes in. And that is what, for example, that is exactly what the Black Agenda does. That's why there's listen, only a small part, and I made this point years ago, only a small part of the Black Agenda is the conversation. This here is the radio program. But the radio program is a small part of what the Black Agenda is. The Black Agenda is bringing together farmers, African farmers growing food. The Black Agenda is networking with African doctors. The Black Agenda is constructing a building, an education center, and having young children as students, instilling the consciousness in them. The Black Agenda is having our own security force, so that we can protect and secure our own families and people.
You have to do more with people with for the bigger picture because what you call the point that I'm in the circle, David. I started my family in that circle. I want to get personal with the whole African movement, but I'm very quiet with it. I mean, there are African brothers out there who are doing their thing quietly. It's well starting from
right. And if we network with each other, get together, pool our resources.
Yes.
Right. So why still complain? I'm showing you a template.
The template is there. The thing of it is that you have levels. You have the executive level that always seems to be failing. When I went over the Black Caucus movement, I was fascinated. Where is it today? I'm not going to be only critical of it. Why did it form? We complain. I mean, there's confusion. That could have been a vehicle. Emancipation to play.
Right. And many of the people who were involved. No, hold on. Okay, you're talking about the Black Caucus, which I myself started first in 2006 and then lost the name in 2009. But how is it that we're so more focused on the name when the work is continuing to be done? And many of those people who are on the board of directors of the same Black Caucus are continuing the work in a diversified way. Persons who are in business, persons who are in security, persons who are in justice, lawyers, persons who are in organizations. The work is continuing, but we're dwelling on a name.
To counter injustice, because honestly, I mean, your program is always interesting to me, and that's why I listen. But to end, I want to tell you something, We may agree on everything, but I'm educated with you for the longest of while. But there are things that, of course, I wouldn't agree with you on, and there are some things I feel that we need more. For example, I went to the Emancipation Support function when they had it this year. And I approached Kafka Cameron, and a lady came across, if he's so African conscious, and she asked him about jollof rice. And it's amazing.
About what?
About something called jollof rice. It's an African food.
All right, yeah, I know it.
And he was unaware of it, and I told him, I said, listen, you need to do more. And he's a quite nice man, but you need more than that. And this is my thing. We too dormant, David. So your program would bring about people who call and they complain about we're doing all this and we're doing all that. What are we doing to counter it? And not with violence. What are we doing? Thank you very much, David. Always good to talk to you. It's not always that we will see on the same eye, but my God, it's all in the interest for the development of African people from different perspectives. My perspective is that the information is there. How do we counter it to be proud? Take care.
And I'll just say one last thing to you, and this, I think, is the problem at hand. The problem at hand. A lot of people talk about Kafka Cameron and what he's doing or what he's not doing. As far as I'm concerned, he is doing his part. He has raised African consciousness in this country in a way that no one else has, in my view. That is his part. But here what I think is the problem with our last discussion there a short while ago. We talk about those who can do something, those in privilege. I think you mentioned the lawyers. What about the African lawyers? What are they doing? What about the African doctors? What are they doing? We talk about Kafka Cameron. What's he doing? Well, here where the problem is. In conversations like that, we would never say, and it's a sore omission. We never say, why we beat up and condemn the black businessman, the black doctor, the black lawyer, the black teacher, the black accountant, for them not doing anything. What about what is the black politician doing? How come the black politician was left out of that long list of people who are condemned? Who's in a better position to do something meaningful for African people? Kafka Cameron or the Prime Minister of the country? The President of the Republic? Even your Member of Parliament or an African senator? Is it that they are totally to be excluded from the conversation of betterment for African people? But wait a minute. We just came out of a situation where they were being represented as the only hope for African people. So is it that we're going to go from before the election, the politicians are the only hope for African people, and then after the election, it's a matter of what are the doctors doing, what are the lawyers doing, what are the accountants doing, what are the African business people doing? So before the election, the African politicians are our only hope. After the election, the African politicians are the only people who are to be excused and forgiven for not taking the kind of interest that is required in the African community. That is wrong. It is wrong. And for this whole statement about people get a government that they deserve, for as long as we keep excusing our African politicians while they sit by and watch people like Mr. Imbert try to destroy an African legacy, and then we defend them, which is how that conversation started, well, we get what we deserve. Monday night, Black Agenda, 9 o'clock. Stay tuned to the street, 919 FM. Assalamu alaikum.
They talk, you talk, come talk with us. On the street, 919 FM.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the street, 919 FM.
Get interactive with the Street 919 FM.
All day, every day. See us all live on our Facebook page.
Share and comment on our show.
Like our page.
Chat with our live on-air announcers.
The Street 919's Facebook page.
Live and interactive all day, every day. The Street 919 FM.
Come talk with us.
This is Wayne Delamore, Head Consultant and Director of Natural Health Solutions.